practice is much easier after a win than a loss. You know, even though we don't get too high or too low, we've had a good week of, well, a good couple of days of preparation. Had yesterday off, and you know, just watching film and taking notes, and we had a great practice today just on preparation for that game.
You guys were kind of, you know, I guess reversing what happened in the Ole Miss game this time around. You were trailing for the entire time, and you found a way to turn it around at the end and come away with a win in overtime. What kind of win in overtime?
Well, I mean, you learn from your mistakes. You know, experience is the best teacher, and in the Ole Miss game, we just didn't finish. We didn't compete the last 5 minutes to win the game. They did. They had more energy, and they won the game. The last 5 minutes of the VCU game, we had more energy and won the game.
It seemed like, even though it was a win, you was talking to Caleb and JQ, they seemed kind of like a little bit frustrated because they know this team can be, you know, so much better.
Mm-hmm.
What's the mood been like this past day of practice in terms of preparation for Texas A&M?
Really, it's been about us and trying to get our mindset right. You know, we want to be tough, physical, energetic team out on the court every time we play, and we're just not. We're talking about it, but we're not doing it out there on the court. So that's where the frustration comes from. I know we have 13 new players, and everybody's not hitting on all cylinders offensively right now, but defensively, there should not be an excuse because that's just communication and principles that we have.
The guys kind of obviously echoed that same sentiment. Is there a player amongst your leaders that's kind of the back cop that's willing to, you know, check other guys when things aren't going right?
That might be David, but we really don't have a bad cop. These guys in this era, they don't really like to ruffle any feathers. They just try to stay away from that, which makes it worse because that means that to me, when you want to win, you'll do whatever it takes. You'll talk about the hard stuff. You'll identify things that aren't being done right, and you'll praise the things that have been doing great. So to me, it's healthy when you say, hey, man, I need you to box out more. Or you haven't boxed your man out the last 2 possessions, 3 possessions. You might have to go out of the game, get your mind right, and come back. They're afraid of that conflict, which is not good for us because it's supposed to be player-led.
So you think this team needs a bad cop or something like that in a sense?
I think we need bad cops. Put an S on the end of it. Seriously, guys, like last year it was Kendrick and DeAndre. And this year we haven't found that bad cop yet.
Hey, Penny, you were born into another hostile environment, another tough team, another ranked team. How do you prepare your team for this, yet another quality opponent?
First of all, who made the schedule? It's crazy as hell. But, you know, it's like 6 road games in a row now. You know, the 3 in the Bahamas, and now this is the 3rd on the road. It's a part of who we have to be. We have to be mentally and physically prepared to go into battle. We set the schedule for a reason. You know, we don't get the respect around the country, and you get respect by winning. You winning these type of games against great programs.
Speaking of physically prepared, how's David doing?
David didn't practice today, but really not worried about him playing in the game on Sunday, but it was just precautionary today, for sure.
What about Brown? What can Brown do for us?
JB's still sick, man. I'm going to knock on the door today. For real, like he's been ill, and I don't really know. A lot of guys got ill after the Bahamas. He didn't, and then now it's like, this is crazy. Like, you know, when guys are missing games or not coming to practice, then it's something that could be passed around or really ill. So we'll just have to, you know, get more in detail about that today.
Is there any estimation about when he'll be feeling better?
Man, I was hoping after we left VCU, and I'm hoping that he shows up tomorrow. And that'll mean he's been off like maybe 4 or 5 days, and he needs to get his legs under him before we go to a very hostile environment.
So would he be able to play? Like, would you play him?
I would play him, yeah. You know, it depends on how weak he is, you know, how he looks. Probably be a little winded, but doesn't have to play long spurts.
What concerns you about the Aggies?
Their toughness, their culture of just wanting to be the toughest team, the revenge game kind of because, you know, we beat them last year. And, you know, they want to be one of the top teams in the country. So I heard it's a sold-out crowd, and, you know, they're waiting to go.
Obviously, you get used to these sold-out crowds on the road. Everybody's coming to see y'all play.
I like that because as a player, I love that, you know, to go into that's a form of respect to me around the country when we're going into these places and they've got more attendance than they've ever had or in a while, you know. So for me, that's a form of respect, so I like that.
Javon has played, obviously, against Kendrick aren't on the team who wanted him.
Yep.
Has Javon kind of shared, I mean, Wade's kind of the engine that makes that thing go. Has Javon kind of shared, like, some of his thoughts on it and even what he wants to do to Wade?
Yeah, well, he's definitely shared his thoughts because he's played against him, and we played him last year. He's just a fantastic player. He's a competitor, second to none when it comes to a competitive nature. Always looking to attack, takes big shots, makes big shots. So, I mean, JQ knows what it is, and the rest of the team from watching film knows what it is. This guy's one of the top guards in the country.
Just kind of going off of that, you guys did pull out a pretty close win over A&M last year. Obviously, your personnel is completely different this year, so strategy there may be a bit different. But is there anything from that game that you could take away, perhaps apply to Sunday's game and how to win that one?
Man, we know what they're about. We've faced that. Like you said, a lot of these guys haven't. In our building last year, it was only Jaden and Malcolm, but JQ is a third person that knows. The guys that don't know, they will know soon enough. When the ball is tipped, you'll know right away the energy that they're going to play with. But I, as a coach, I'll take some of the things that they did to us last year and that we could, have some success with. But this is a totally new team this year for those guys, and they're raring to go as far as mentality.
Other than the negatives they went through the last game we played, what are some of the positives you can take out of the game that they use going forward?
Well, the positives is that, we have a team that can win any game at any given time. Very resilient team, never going to give up, never going to give in. Could fold a lot of times during the game and never fold. I mean, we had one bad half where it was ugly, and that to me, that's pretty much it.
I know as a lot of this media, we cover football as well, Memphis football. And one of the common themes from Memphis football this year was last year's team would have lost this game. This year's team isn't losing this game, these close games. Do you feel that same way about this team compared like with the VCU game? I mean, last year on the road, hostile environment, clearly they were amped up, they were playing, leading pretty much the entire game. Do you feel like your previous teams would have won on the road like that?
It's hard to say with that we couldn't, because we won some good games and big games with DeAndre and Kendrick as our leaders. This team definitely is more talented than last year, so you have more opportunities offensively to score. So, you can say this year's team probably could win a bigger game on the road in a hostile environment versus last year's team, but, man, last year's two guys were pretty special.
I think you mentioned on post-game radio that you wanted to play your studs more, kind of lean on them more so than have a larger rotation. Does that mean that you'll shrink that rotation?
I don't know. It's just a feel. You want to play your studs because last game, David 40, I think JQ 37, Caleb 36 or 37. Jaquan was the only one that played like 20. That's been in the rotation a lot, and then everybody else kind of did it by, committee with maybe 20, 18, 16 minutes. That's still, to me, playing the studs if they're playing 30-plus. But you got to lean on those guys, and they had good games last game.
Just kind of curious, overall, like when you're subbing guys in and out, you do it kind of quickly or you're doing these mass subs, is that, I don't know, is it the lack of trust that these guys are going to figure it out on the court themselves, that you have to rein them in and talk to them, or what's the balance there?
I think it's fatigue a lot of times. A lot of these guys are playing so hard, you don't want to keep them on the floor tired. And then the next thing is just trusting that my bench can go out there and get some things done and give them confidence as well.
If Jordan isn't ready to play Sunday, you think that, Malcolm's played really well the last couple of games. Is he in line for more minutes, or is it something like maybe Jonathan Pierre or?
Yeah, Malcolm will be in line for more minutes, but we do want to have JP out on the court. Nick definitely does a great job. Gave JP a couple minutes. He was nervous, but I want to get his confidence up. If Jordan doesn't go, he would definitely be someone that we would put out there in that environment.
Do you hold the freshman when Carl gets in there with JP? Or I know JP's not a freshman, but his first year in Division I. Do you hold those guys, even Ashton? Do you hold those guys to not a different standard, but do you view their time on the court differently than you view your studs that you call them, the older guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, every coach would tell you, when you put guys in their first year or as freshmen or first year on your team, you look for certain things, and mainly it's just playing tough. They're playing tough, they're going to stay on the floor. If they're not playing tough, then it's going to be hard to keep them out there because your studs, your other guys, your leaders can get through certain things. And you root for those guys. That's why you put them on the floor, because if I didn't put them on the floor, that means that I didn't think that they could help. You put them on the floor because they can help, and it's up to them to go out there and show me to keep them out there on the court.
Everybody else practiced today?
Yeah, David was the only one that didn't practice, and obviously JB was at home. Everyone else practiced.
I was asking because Caleb is his knee and Jake's knee.
Yeah, Caleb went through some stuff. It was kind of an easy day. It wasn't hard practice. It was more of a mental practice to get ready for this game.
Walton Shy, 1 of 9, 2 of 8, 1 of 5 from the field in the last 2 games. He had a pretty good start to the season, but it's since kind of tapered off. What needs to be done there to perhaps make him more of a factor?
Defensively, he's doing well. He's not rebounding the way we want him to, because he's only averaging 3 rebounds a game, and I'm on him about that. But defensively, he's been great, the way that he's guarding the basketball and doing that and being a leader for us as far as playmaking. But we do need him to score more. I think it's just a matter of time, because the game that he had against Jackson State, it's really who he is. He's a scorer, and right now he's maybe thinking too much, gets really down on himself, really hard on himself. So we need him to just keep shooting, and it's going to turn.